Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am St. Louis' Pastor Paul, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about the passage that is more responsible than any other passage in the entire Bible for making me a Christian. And that is Judges 4, specifically verses 17 through 22. There's a picture of it right here. It's the story of Jael assassinating Sisera, the king. And she does it in dramatic fashion. She hammers a tent peg through Sisera's head. It's quite a graphic story. And you might think to yourself, why would a story like that bring someone into the Christian faith? In my specific, in my story, the reason why is that I decided that I was going to address the question of God in life, and I was going to read through the holy books, and I was going to focus on that question. But as I read through the Bible, I started reading from the front to the end. So I started in Genesis and started reading, and I read every night, read several chapters. It took me 3 years to complete, but way before I had completed reading the Bible, I was in the book of Judges, and I was starting to wear out. I had been reading, I don't know how long at this point, probably several months, and it just wasn't very interesting. Genesis through Deuteronomy, the Pentateuch, a lot of the stories in there you've probably heard, even if you don't go to church. Things like Moses, or Adam and Eve, or the great flood, the flood of the whole earth. And so I would read them and I'd be like, okay, whatever. Or then some of the other stories were really minor and they didn't really pique my interest. But Judges 4, I read the story, and it was so graphic. It was so contrary to what I expected to find in the Bible that I literally read it and I went, wait, what did I read? Like, did I just completely daze out and, make that story up? And I went back and reread it, and I was like, no, I didn't make that up. That's in the Bible. And that really shocked me, because I thought the Bible was supposed to be about love and caring for people and taking care of one another, not assassinating a king. So it took me a while to realize that the Bible addresses all of life, which is part of what makes it so valuable. You have, books in the Bible like the Song of Solomon that is very erotic and, is very uncomfortable to read in mixed companies with men and women present. You have the book of Proverbs that teaches you how to be successful in life, how to live life practically and godly, and be successful financially even. You have the book of Psalms that addresses the whole gambit of human emotions. You do have theology. You do have things like that in the New Testament and the Old Testament that tell you about God. You also have things like Ecclesiastes that talks about, paradoxes of this life, things like work and how it's a gift from God, but often feels like it's not a gift. And so there's all these, the Bible touches on every aspect of life, and it tells the story of God sending his son to save the world. And a lot of the Old Testament is just explaining to us why the world needs to be saved. And part of that is that the rulers of this world, politicians, the governments, are oppressive. Governments oppress people. And God says, I have a better plan. I have a king, Jesus, my son. And he is a king. A bruised reed he will not break. Jesus says, come to me, you who are weary, for my burden is light. Jesus is a different kind of king. He's a different kind of political ruler. And that's part of what God shows in the Old Testament, is he shows, you guys get all excited about your man-made governments and you get all nationalistic and fervent, they're really not that cool. Even the best governments terribly abuse their own people and outsiders. God says there is a different way. I have a plan. It's my son. And that's pretty much, Judges 4 gets into a lot of other stuff than just that. But basically the story of Judges is God being the king of his people and leading them out of oppression from people like Sisera through people like Jael, the woman that assassinates him. So again, this story in the Bible really doesn't have insane amounts of theology. I mean, if we wanted to, I could tell you about it. But the reason that it made me a Christian is not for its theology. It was purely because of its shock value. I did not expect to be reading stuff like this in the Bible. And I think that's something we need to recapture as pastors and churches, because so often people go to church and they get bored because they've already heard it. Frankly, the Bible's a big book. There's a lot in there that a lot of people have never even heard about because they don't read it. I think that one of the best things you can do as a pastor and as a church is to talk about stories that shock people and make them go, wait, what? That's in the Bible? And pique their interest to the point that they actually start reading it, because it is a life-changing book. And I loved reading the Bible a lot because I realized, wow, there's tons of war stories in here, and I kind of like reading war stories. I didn't know this was in the Bible, though, and they're incredibly graphic. So there's something in the Bible for everyone. It's a wonderful book. Let's go ahead. We'll just read that passage. Again, this is Judges. Oh, here's the picture again. What a wonderful picture. But this is Judges, what's it called? Judges 4, verses 17 through 22. It says, but Sisera's a king. He just lost the battle. He was oppressing the Hebrews. But Sisera fled away on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael came out to meet Sisera and said to him, turn aside, my lord, turn aside to me, do not be afraid. So he turned aside to her into the tent, and she covered him with a rug. And he said to her, please, give me a little water for drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened a skin of milk and gave him a drink and covered him. And he said to her, stand at the opening of the tent, and if any man comes, asks you, is anyone here? Say no. But Jael, the wife of Heber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in hand. Then she went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until it went down into the ground while he was lying fast asleep from weariness. So he died. And behold, as Barak was pursuing Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said to him, come, I will show you the man whom you are seeking. So he went into her tent, and there lay Sisera dead, with the tent peg in his temple. We'll go back to the picture here. So I just want to point out that this is a story that shocked me into the faith. And it's not one that I expected to find in the Bible. This whole story is about a king that fought a battle. He lost the battle. Sisera ran away from the battle to try and make it back to his kingdom. Jael basically makes him think he will be safe, and he comes into her tent exhausted from battle. I'm going paintballing this weekend, and I love paintballing, but it's exhausting. And likewise, he was exhausted from battle. He just wants to take a nap. He wants some water. She gives him milk to put him asleep. He goes to sleep. She assassinates him. Read the Bible. It is a life-changing book. It has tons of stories that are wildly entertaining, wildly inspirational, and just, fair notice, you won't understand half of what you read the first time you read the Bible. At least I didn't. I didn't understand half of what I read the first time that I read it. But the little bit that I did understand changed my life. And every time I go back and read more of the Bible, I understand more and more. And frankly, I think that's the best way to get to know the Bible, to understand what it says. Just start reading, keep reading. If you read one chapter a day of the Bible, you do that one chapter a day for 4 years straight, you will read through the entire Bible. You read 2 chapters a day, you'll get through the Bible in 2 years. I read through the Bible first time in 7th grade. I started in 7th grade. It took me 3 years to read through the Bible. Just a chapter or 2 a day. Anyways, hope you guys have found this enjoyable. Please leave comments below, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and look forward to talking to you next time. Bye.